edition of Your High School Sports. I'm your host, Roddy Woods, along with Chris Blevins and Chris Reddick. Mr. Blevins is going to be tying the knots there.
Uh-oh. It's getting close, man.
Getting close. Oh, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that later on.
Tying the knots.
Later on. Your High School Sports is powered by Krispy Kreme Donuts in Pigeon Forge on the Parkway and their new location on Highway 66 right in Sevierville. So if you're wanting a good, refreshing snack, stop by and see Krispy Kreme Donuts. Joe will fix you right up. Guys, it's time for Around the Nation and Across the Region, sponsored by Buddy's Barbecue right here. Chris is always ahead of the game. Let's jump in there. Let's talk about what's going on around the nation.
Well, around the nation, once again, very busy weekend, and I'm going to have to yield this story to my man, Chris Blevins. I don't know if he has this scheduled for his Around the Region, but Chris actually was featured on Your High School Sports Game of the Week. So, like I said, if it's part of what you were going to talk about, we'll just combine it. But if not, I'd like for you to first share your experience that you had this week and talk a little bit about the game that we covered.
Yeah, well, first of all, we went up to Gatlinburg-Pittman and watched them play Pigeon Forge. If you hadn't been to a game up there, you need to put it on your bucket list for high school football because it's an older type of stadium, but they have an awesome field, awesome environment, and it was a rivalry game, which made it even better. So the biggest thing that I got from the game was just the intensity that was out there. I mean, it was standing room only, first of all. And overall, I just really thought that the game was just set up like almost like a college game.
Oh, yeah.
The way they entered, the team, Pigeon Forge entered the field from the bleachers. That was cool. The field house.
Walking right by the people.
Yeah, you had to come out of the field house, through the people, down through the stadium, to the field to play against the home team.
They came a different direction.
Now, the good thing was at least they came out of the away side, so that was good. But that was pretty cool, and we had a really good time up there. It was a great game. I don't know if we're going to talk about the score right now. Don't want to go over that.
Well, that's what I said. I didn't know if that was part of your round.
Yeah, I'll talk about the score here in a minute. But the overall experience was good. I definitely had a great time, and I appreciate you bringing that up. It was great being on there and being featured and being able to do that for Your High School Sports. And if you haven't seen our playbacks for those and looking at for those are really good games. And I think we did a pretty good job of really commentating the game and bringing what we saw to life. And it was exciting, and I can't wait to do it again.
Well, Chris, we enjoyed having you, and tell you what, this guy, he brings the excitement. He did the color commentating, and he brought a lot of fun and excitement to the game. And like I said, I think we all had a blast. And there may be some good news where you may see Chris a little bit more coming next year in a new role on Your High School Sports Game of the Week.
All right. Let's move it on down to you because I brought you something. Your Cobb County, they're still alive.
So, a couple weeks ago, I was on the Knox County bandwagon, and I haven't jumped completely off, but at the same time, I kind of stepped away from what they were doing because I wanted to get back to their winning ways, and on my side of things, they got back on the winning ways. So, Knox County played Cherokee this past week, and they were having a little rough time with the Cherokee quarterback. He was really throwing the ball around the field. He had 334 total yards. Passing the ball, and Cherokee still lost. But let me tell you how they lost real quick. With 2 minutes left to go in the game, quarterback Jaron Inslee stepped back for a pass and threw an 80-yard touchdown pass to Mr. Ramsey with 2 minutes remaining. And how it reads is he's running down the sidelines. He makes 2 people miss, 2 defenders running into each other. He squibbles away and runs down for the game-winning touchdown with 2 minutes to go. And Knox County defeats Cherokee High School for a big, big win for the Fighting Cocks over there at Knox County. And Mr. Henley threw 2 touchdown passes in the game, and they were both to Mr. Ramsey. One for the game winner and one earlier in the game. Now, Knox County only had a total of 147 total yards for the game and 2 touchdowns. That's all it took to win against Cherokee. So that was really good. Another game I wanted to bring up real quick because I have some information on it. Hardin Valley played Jefferson County this past week, and Jefferson County was beating them the whole entire game. But wait a minute. last second, Hardin Valley stood for, I think, a 35-yard field goal. I don't have the exact yardage on it, and kicks a field goal to win the game at the very last second against Jeff County. And I know somebody that goes to Jeff County, and they were super disappointed, so I got that information. And then to go back to the game that Chris just brought up a minute ago, Gatlinburg-Pittman Pigeon Forge, the big rivalry game that we had for your last week's game of the week here on your high school sports. The final score there was 36-7, but that's kind of deceiving on what it looked like. At halftime, it was 14-7. Some of the big plays we had there were Mr. Hammonds, the running back, and Mr. Akey, the running back there for the Gatlinburg-Pittman. Man, I tell you what, all I heard going to the game was how much Gatlinburg-Pittman threw the ball. Nope. They run too, and they run right up the middle, and they throw the wildcat at you with Hammonds. They throw up the middle with Akey. So they were awesome to watch. Also, Profit, that played for Pigeon Forge, right the second half, had a 97-yard kickoff return, which really brought the game back to life and really kind of maybe scored for Pigeon Forge, and you thought maybe this could be the chance here. And then there at the very end, the play of the game was Mr. Hill for Gatlinburg-Pittman, did a pick six on Pigeon Forge and got the go-ahead touchdown that pretty much sealed the game there. They had a couple more touchdowns that kind of went away, but that sealed the game. I think it was basically 21-7 at that point, and they scored basically at will after that. So that was an awesome game there in Gatlinburg-Pittman, and again, go back to what Chris said. It was an awesome environment, and I can just sit here talking about it now. It was super exciting to be there. So make sure you go to your high school sports and rewatch that game there and see what you can see.
Also, you'll be able to see that game on Spectrum in the Sevier County Market on Channel 180 coming up this Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. So make sure you set your DVR to Spectrum 180 and catch the Sevier County Game of the Week was GP versus Pigeon Forge. So
guess who was there at the game?
Who was?
One of your sponsors
Buddy's Barbecue?
on your network, Alawine.
Oh, Robert was there.
Now, Robert was there, but two of the ladies that worked there
Was there?
were at the game.
Well,
yeah.
very good.
And they actually got on TV.
Well, they were out in front of us. Yeah.
That's good. So, hey, if you weren't at the game to see these guys, make sure you tune in this Wednesday night at 9 o'clock on Spectrum, which used to be Charter Channel 180. We'll be right back here on Your High School Sports, and Bart Lyons will join us, plus some coaches' interviews.
The right services you need from a name you can trust at Crescent Center Drugs. Whether it's hormone replacement therapy or if you need to update your immunizations for flu, pneumonia, or shingles, Crescent Center Drugs has a professional and friendly staff always ready to take care of you. That's why for many years, Crescent Center Drugs has been your good neighbor pharmacy. Right now, getting your medicine is fast and easy when you sign up for the IVR system. It's simple. Once your prescription is filled, your box is scanned, and you instantly receive a phone call or text for pickup. Visit Crescent Center Drugs inside the Crescent Shopping Center.
Welcome back to this edition of Your High School Sports. Bart Lyons is on the line with us right now. And Bart, let's talk football in the Northeast.
I tell you what, when you talk about football in the Northeast, you have to talk about the Northeast Tennessee powerhouse, Greenville Green Devils, 63-7. Got that victory over Sullivan Central. Knox-Farragut comes and defeats Dobbins Bennett, which was a surprise for a lot of people, and Daniel Boone improves to 5-1 with a defeat over the Morristown East Hurricanes. So lots of football going up here in Northeast Tennessee.
I want to ask you one question. We don't talk about Greenville too much because we kind of letting that ride out until we get to that big game between Elizabethton. But talk about Greenville just a little bit.
Well, you guys pump them up a lot. I know Chris pumps up the Cyclones. I know you pump up those Greenville Green Devils pretty good, but they're very talented. They're loaded in a skill position. They're very strong and fundamentally sound. When he talks about the offensive line, and Coach Ballard's really got something, a really special program down there in Greenville.
Now, talk about your Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers lost a close one. 23-21 over number 5 ranked Knox-Farragut on Friday night. We fall to 1-2 in conference, 2-5 overall, and we need to win the remaining games to grab the number 3 or number 4 spot in playoffs. But up next for us is the Hardin Valley Hawks, and they're sitting at 4. Yeah, they're sitting at 4-2 on the season. And guys, the key to winning, we got to stop Grayson Vaughn, and they got a super sophomore sensation, Briley Love. If we stop those two guys, they'll be successful.
Let me ask you one question about you guys. You know, you guys went down to Bearden and you guys took it to Bearden on the road, but now Hardin Valley comes to you guys. But what does Science Hill have to do right now, Bart, to get in the playoffs? We're talking playoffs now because, you know, I know I used to talk to a coach, Coach Quarles at Maryville. He never wanted to talk about playoffs, but it's time to start talking about playoffs because you got to win a few more games to get in now.
Absolutely. We've got to get, and again, Rodney, this game is going to be on the road. We're going to Knoxville this weekend. We've got to beat Hardin Valley. We've got to defeat Morristown West, and we've got to defeat Jeff County in order to get in. So our backs are up against the wall. It's fight or flight, and I know our guys from Johnson City, Science Hill, I know that those guys will be ready.
All right, well, tell me who your player of the week is.
My player of the week is a running back from Unicoi County High School, Cody Lewis. He rushed for 325 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a big victory over Chucky Dope. They won 49-17. Their first winning season at Unicoi County High School in football since 1996. So very proud of Cody Lewis, running back from Unicoi County High School.
Cody Lewis is the Bart Lions Player of the Week. So make sure you tune in every week right here to Your High School Sports. When Bart comes with his report, he's part of the Science Hill Hilltoppers radio group. So what's that saying, Bart?
As always, guys, go Toppers.
All right. We'll talk to you next week, Bart.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Express Shine Car Wash. You don't want to drive around in a dirty, dirty car. You gotta get it washed, gotta get it washed. Wanna show the whole world how fine you are. Go on and get it washed, time to get it washed. Take your foot off the gas and enjoy the ride. See the soap suds fly in the colorful neon light. For a clean, clean, clean like you've never ever seen. Claymore's Express Shine Car Wash.
I'm on the line now with head coach of the Farragut Admirals, Coach Eddie Coatney. Coach, appreciate you taking a moment to be with us here on Your High School Sports.
Well, it's great to always talk about high school sports, especially just talk to you, Rodney. I hadn't talked to you in a while.
I know it, Coach. Let me just jump in here. You guys are off to a fast start. You guys are undefeated, and you had a big win up at Science Hill last Friday night on the last-second field goal. Talk a little bit about your season.
Well, you know, we started back running. Our kids really worked hard because we felt like last year, you know, we lost to a very good Maryville team in the playoffs. Our kids wanted to make another run at trying to win a state championship. But they understand it's a week-by-week deal. It's something you never look down the road towards somebody else. And I think our kids have learned to do that. They've been able to focus and get the job done each week. But, you know, we've been pretty much injury-free other than a couple of guys, so we feel fortunate about that. And the guys are playing really well in the team. You know, it started back, you know, fall camp. We went to Ottawa, went to Cookville, went to Greenville, pretty good team. Went on the road, learned what it takes to grow up, be mature. You know, we started off, we had a very good night in our first game against Bradley County, trying to keep their quarterback contained. He came back from last year, we kind of concerned about that. And then Movetta's picked up a little bit. You know, this past week we had a big challenge with Science Hill. Very good football team. I mean, a football team, you know, Kingsport and Science Hill are two very good football teams. You know, they played Maryville, and they played Alcoa, and they played Greenville, and so, you know, anybody playing that stretch is tough. But
Yeah.
anyway, with Science Hill, you know, is a game that was their homecoming. Their kids played very hard. They're still trying to play for that fourth spot in the region. And so when they came out at halftime, that second half was kind of their season to make the playoffs.
Well, you talked about in your conversation just a second ago about the game you got this Friday night. You got Dobbins Bennett, and right now, like you said, Science Hill was playing for their life in the playoffs, and Dobbins Bennett is too. So, you know, it's a game where you guys are in a position to win out and be conference champs. So what do you tell your team about Friday night?
Well, we've already talked about Kingsport. You know, that's what we do each week. And to be honest, that's the same kind of message we had last week. Kingsport now, their offensive line averages 300 pounds, and they can run the football when they want to run the football. So we've got to be physical. We've got to make sure we secure the football. And we've got to offensively start fast, which we've tried to do every game this year, and be balanced in our attack. You know, Kyle Carter and Isaiah Gibbs, two running backs running hard. We've been fortunate. We have 6 offensive linemen that's played all this year. and we rotate one kid in to that, Okoye, and the rest of them been starting the whole time, so they've gotten better. Gavin's had a good year at quarterback. That's helped, his ability to throw the ball. And then with Jake, our backup quarterback, he's starting safety, but he's got chances to play. And then we've got a lot of guys that stepped up. Wyatt Lucas has, Tanner Corum has, Jaden Gibbs has. So we've been very lucky to have a receiver core that's picked up. And I feel like we've built experience in our secondary, which that was concerning the offensive line. So, and Daniel Bethel, our kicker, man, I can't say enough about him. How to hit clutch. And he's a sophomore that's really grown up. That we know we're going to have a couple more years. So we feel good and excited about him, knowing that if we had to kick the field goal, he's going to give it a good shot anyway.
Coach, is it too early to talk to your team about the playoffs? I know you take it one game at a time, but do you, in the back of your mind, do you know for sure, but do you say anything to your team?
No, we tell them it's a one-game season all through this thing, and as long as we're on the top spot or the second top spot, then everybody's trying to catch you. But you can't worry about it. If you look at somebody else, you will slip up and get beat. So we talk about right now, this week, it's Kingsport, and then we have somebody else down the road. I know who it is, but we don't talk about them yet. And then the next one we finally get our open date in 2 weeks. So, we've gone this far without an open date, and I think that's going to help us going into it. But to answer your question, no, we really don't here. We come, our schedule from week 1 to week 10 is very tough. We want to play the best, but you can't be looking down the road because you'll get beat by anybody play. Kingsport, Science Hill, Jeff County's getting better right now. Hardin Valley, we still got to play. Bearden, we still have to play. Oak Ridge, we played. Won that game. They will win that game. So our schedule is pretty demanding.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here on Your High School Sports, and good luck Friday night.
Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate it, buddy. Good talking to you.
All right. We've been talking to the head coach of the Farragut Admirals, Coach Eddie Coatney, right here on Your High School Sports. We'll be right back.
Just look at all those freshly made Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm sure it makes you want one or a dozen right now. So come visit our locally owned and operated Krispy Kreme donuts in Pigeon Forge. Our Krispy Kreme donuts are made fresh daily, our service is fast and friendly, and the taste will put a smile on anyone's face. Krispy Kreme is a fundraising favorite, so call us today to help support your school or community fundraising efforts. Our delivery truck is there when you need us. Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway in Pigeon Forge.
Now I'm on the line with head coach of the Hardin Valley Hawks, Wes Jones. Coach, you guys are 4-2, 2 losses, with one with Oak Ridge and one with Central, but you pulled out a big win last Friday night at Jeff County. Talk a little bit about your team's success.
We've been up and down this season. This past week we played pretty good on offense. Was able to be pretty balanced and throw the ball and run the ball. I think one of our biggest consistencies is ball security and have a little bit of confidence and being very consistent in our play. So we're not where we need to be at as a football team, but we're getting there. So that's a good thing, and the best thing about it is we control our own destiny at this point in time.
Coach, is there any time in the season where you're at right now, do you talk playoffs, not with your team but with your coaches, what you have to do to keep your team on the right track?
Well, for us, being in the playoffs is a goal to our football teams anyway. And, at the spot we are in the season, the way our schedule's laid out and being undefeated in region play and having 4 straight region games in front of us, we told our kids that basically the playoffs start now. They started last week on Friday night in the second half of the season for our team. So, yeah, we are talking about playoffs. We know we're not in there, and we know we got to win football games, but the great part about it is it's laying in front of us. We know what we need to do to get there. So, we have talked about it. Basically, playoffs have already started for us. That's the way we have to approach every Friday night.
Well, you got a big game coming up this Friday night against Science Hill. Talk about Science Hill and what you got to do to win this game.
Well, Science Hill may be the best 2-5 team in the state. I mean, they've lost some games to some really good football teams, and then they beat Bearden inside the the region, they're a good team. I mean, they've got a lot of really good athletes. They're a big physical football team. You know, the last couple of years we've played some good football games against Science Hill. You know, last year it came down to the very last play of the game. You know, it's going to be a big game. We're going to have to play really good. We're going to have to take care of the football to be in this game, and we're going to have to, you know, we're going to have to do a lot better job of blocking and tackling. You know, I know that seems very simple. A lot of people want to talk schematics, but I mean, we're going to have to do a lot better job blocking and tackling for us to have success.
You know, at this point in time, like you said, every game is a playoff game. You know, well, Coach, good luck to you this Friday night against Science Hill, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We've been talking to Hardin Valley head coach Wes Jones on they take on Science Hill this weekend, so make sure you tune into those Hawks because they're pretty tough. So make sure you stay right with us. We're coming right back here on Your High School Sports. Welcome back to Your High School Sports, powered by Krispy Kreme Donuts right here in Sevier County. Hey guys, it's time for your, what you call them?
Top performers for the week.
Top performers, sponsored by Mystic Mountain Media. Let's talk about top performers. Who you got this week?
Top performers we got up in the Upper East Tennessee area. Well, some of these names there are no surprise, but one guy that we've been talking about every week is Mr. Charlie Cole. Now this guy is just becoming a monster on the field. He has now over 1,000 yards. He's got good size, good speed, good agility. He's so good. There were some scouts there.
Oh yeah?
To watch him, some big time scouts. So keep your eyes on Charlie Cole. We're going to see how this guy's going to finish. But guess what? He's only a junior, so he'll be back again this year. But anyway, Mr. Charlie Cole had an outstanding game against, unfortunately, beating Morristown East. 22 carries, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns. And these aren't 3-yard and 1-yard touchdowns. He went 85 yards, and he's all over the place. But anyway, great game from him. And, of course, Cade Ballard. What can we say more about Cade Ballard?
No.
Now, I'm going to talk about myself real quick. I thought this was great. I remember in a jamboree, back when I was a senior, they called a play, my play. I ran it for a long touchdown. They threw a flag. They backed us up. Coach said, Coach Ryder, run it again. Ran the same play, scored again. They backed us up. Coach Ryder said, run it again. I scored again. So in other words, I went 3 for 3 right off the bat. But anyway, that is nothing to what Mr. Cade Ballard did. 5 passes, 5 touchdowns. 5 for 5 and 5 touchdowns, 205 yards.
In the first quarter.
Well,
You know he didn't. You know he didn't play after that.
anyway, what else can I? Nothing else to say. We'll move on. Colin Ironside for Bearden. They had a big win over Dobbins Bennett. He had 267 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. Also, Ian Hicks, we've talked about him a lot. In a losing battle against Bearden, he had 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really, I want to point him out because he's been very consistent getting between 130 and 150 yards.
They got some good running backs.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Dorian Carmichael in a losing battle against Boone. He had 135 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then we had Chris Thomas in a losing battle with Science Hill, that tough game they had against Farragut. I want to point this out, too, because he's been consistent. Now, he had 68 yards rushing, but also they used him as, to throw passes to, so he got 67 yards receiving, and he had 3 touchdowns in a losing effort against Farragut. And then, of course, you heard this mentioned by Mr. Bart Lyon, which was his player of the week, Kobe Lewis from Unicoi County, which they're having an outstanding year this year. He crossed over the 300 mark, and he had 4 touchdowns.
Oh.
So these guys are doing a lot of work, and we're getting new guys as well as the consistent ones that we say each week. But you know what? they're getting the job done.
Getting the job done.
I want to throw in one more there. We also have, when I was at Gatlinburg-Pittman watching the game, Mr. Pierce Hammonds, one of the running backs there for Gatlinburg-Pittman, had 129 yards for 3 touchdowns, and one of those touchdowns was a 75-yard scamper on the outside, and I'm telling you what, he turned on the afterburners and outran everybody on the left sideline. So that was a big play, or big performer I wanted to talk about was Pierce Hammonds from Gatlinburg-Pittman.
Yeah, great game. He had a great game.
All right. Game performers, big game performers, sponsored by Mystic Mountain Media right here on Your High School Sports. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Ball Corporation's games of the week. We got some good ones, guys, coming back. So make sure you stay right here with us.
Just look at all those freshly made Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm sure it makes you want one or a dozen right now. So come visit our locally owned and operated Krispy Kreme donuts in Pigeon Forge. Our Krispy Kreme donuts are made fresh daily, our service is fast and friendly, and the taste will put a smile on anyone's face. Krispy Kreme is a fundraising favorite, so call us today to help support your school or community fundraising efforts. Our delivery truck is there when you need us. Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway in Pigeon Forge.
Welcome back to Your High School Sports. I'm your host, Rodney Woods, along with Chris Blevins and Chris Reddick. Chris Blevins getting married Saturday, guys. What you think?
He'll have a ring on that finger
Lord day, man.
next
Look out.
week.
Get him, Courtney.
Appreciate I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good time, and just if you're out there, say a little thought for me there. And,
Say
yeah.
a little We like it.
And my family will be good, so we're excited.
Say a little prayer. Get him, Courtney. All right. But, congratulations, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're an asset to Your High School Sports, and I'm glad you went to the game.
Yep.
You Sevier County Game of the Week, had a great time,
Good time.
and like I said before, we're glad to have you back. And he'll miss 1 week, but
1 week, I'll be back, and we'll be ready to go.
Me and Mr. Reddick, we might call you,
Uh-oh.
Might
Gonna
check
call him
you
on his
out.
honeymoon. Uh-oh.
I sound some footballs in there in Cancun. I don't know.
All right, guys, it's time for the Ball Corporation games of the week. Big games, nothing but big games now.
Big
It's
games.
playoff time, guys.
Oh, yeah.
And no
They
bigger
count.
game than coming up this Friday night. It's Dobbins Bennett traveling down to Farragut. Farragut, we
Well, not
talked to
Farragut. They had already. Well, you're right.
DB.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
DB.
Where I got Farragut, from last
You got
year. I'm
Farragut
sorry.
Science Hill. You think about that.
sorry.
But Farragut, Dobbins Bennett. Hey, we've talked about Dobbins Bennett's running game. We talked about Farragut, how they like Bart said, last minute beating Science Hill. But Coach Courtney said that he in his interview, they know this is a big game. Every game now is big. So I'm gonna turn it over to you guys, and you guys tell me what you think about Farragut and Dobbins Bennett.
Okay.
Well, I'll let Chris talk about it here in a second. But what I'll say about this, I haven't said this a lot this season. When we talk about these bigger games, here we start the little coin flipping. Who are we going to have here? I could see these games, some of these ones we have today for this week, big games, but you don't really know where it's going to go till you probably get on the field and the stadium's packed, like I saw on last Friday. But if I had to give an edge to somebody, I think Farragut's got a pretty good football team. I think Dobbins Bennett's finally got something rolling here with some running backs, as Hugh said, and getting some game management down. But I really would flip a coin, and I'm going to let Chris talk about it. I'm going to go with Farragut.
Farragut, they look good. Look good on paper, look good on the field, look good in the standings. They ranked, I believe, number 5 in the state.
Yeah.
But let's be honest about this conference in Region 1. There is a lot of parity in this conference, meaning each and every week, I don't care from top to bottom, either one of these teams can be beat on any given Friday. So with that being said, Farragut is at number 5. They got tested by a Science Hill team that I think they overlooked because of Science Hill's record. But like I've been saying every week, Science Hill's a team that's on the rise. They're a young team, and that means they're getting better each and every week. So they got a true test to where I believe Farragut, it woke them up because they understand it's like, whoa, we had trouble with Science Hill.
Yes.
Right.
And Science Hill got beat by Dobbins Bennett, and that's who we got to play. So I think Coach Courtney's got them woke to where the thing that's saving them is Farragut's playing them at their home.
You got that right.
If this was going the other way to Dobbins Bennett, and with Dobbins Bennett playing better each week themselves, and just coming off a heartbreaking loss to Bearden on a field goal last week, Oh my gosh, who's hungrier than Dom has been at this time? So there's like Chris says, there's a lot at stake in this game, and I know you want to pick. And I want to say, my heart wants to say Farragut, but you know what? I'm going to go for the homies up in Upper East Tennessee just to contradict Mr. Blevins. And Dobbins Bennett is going to come up with a big upset.
All right, Cloudon versus Hampton. What do you think?
All right, so here you go. Cloudon and Hampton. This big rivalry goes back to the beginning of the creation of Tennessee. But anyway, this is one you got to throw records out, even though they're in different classifications. Hampton, I believe, is 2. Cloudon's 1. Forget about that. These guys are neighbors, right there in the same county of Carter, and this game could get ugly. So Hampton just had a big win over North last week. And, of course, Cloudon, they've been trucking with a nice, steady record. Hampton, like I said, has been a little up and down, but they played some tough teams like Crockett, which we saw what Crockett did to them. But that big win was impressive last week. So I think Hampton has got their wheels churning and getting back on track. But Cloudon, this is a team that's always looking past not just rival wins or conference wins. This is a team, they're hungry to get down to that state championship. So, like Chris said, this may be coin flipping week. Golly, it's really hard to say. But I'm going to just give an edge this week to Hampton.
Okay.
And time management, I'm going with Cloudon for all the reasons Chris talked about. Cloudon with a steady record, and they're wanting to be at the state. No, they're playing on the road here against Hampton, but again, it doesn't really matter. This is a rivalry.
I'll be hard in the valley. You want this one first?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I think about this. Science Hill has had that up and down season, but in conference play, like you said, they got to have this win to be able to get that conference championship opportunity. Hardin Valley just had a hard-fought game that I just told you about with Jefferson County this past week, and Jefferson County was an up-and-coming team that we talked about in the first of the year that also is a younger team that is getting better each and every week. They just barely missed out on getting beat this past week by Jeff County on a last-second field goal that Hardin Valley got. So I would tell you this about Hardin Valley. They might have learned the lesson that Farragut might have learned is you have to play each and every week and wake up. And now they're getting ready to play Science Hill, which Science Hill's already been awakened.
Yes.
And they are here to play, and they know what this game's about. So with it being on the road at Hardin Valley, Science Hill also knowing what this means. Hardin Valley might have been a little tested. I'm not sure how banged up they are after having a little bit longer game with Jeff County. They probably thought they had. Science Hill.
Oh, ooh, upset.
Dang, he's making this real difficult because I'm not even going to go through the logistics here because I was saving my pick for Science Hill, and just for this reason, not because of my good friend Bart Line, but because I've been believing in this team each and every week, even though they go down. And guess what? Like I said, with the parity they have in their conference, they still got another chance to prove themselves, to still get into the playoffs. But this may be my last time picking them.
Oh, you picking Science Hill?
But I'm going, because I already had it picked before he threw his out. I want to say, or I could say Hardin Valley just to counter him. But
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Hardin Valley wins, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm not going to be surprised. But I'm giving them, Hilltoppers one more chance. One more chance.
All right,
one more chance.
Now, it's going to be easy.
I can't talk about next week.
Let's move on. Greenville, Southern South. Greenville.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Greenville's got too much power, and they have their eyes set on a state championship.
They have their eyes set on next week.
Now, just real quick to not belittle South.
Yes.
Reason why this is a key game because Southern South only has one loss, but guess what? They have 0 losses in the conference. And even though we know Greenville probably should win this game, and we know they're ranked, and we know what they're capable of doing, and you know all the hoorah about it. But this is a Sullivan South team that knows what's at stake. And anytime you got to beat David against Goliath, you know the story in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to count South out, but like I said, on paper, it should be Greenville.
All right, this is a big game, guys. Anybody right now, if this game, Tennessee High versus Cock County, this is a big game in the conference because Cock County is right there knocking on the door. They need a game like Tennessee High, and then or something. They got Morrison East coming up, but they need this game. They got Daniel Boone still on the schedule, but they need this game. They need to stay in the hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And it's at Cobb County, so.
I mean, I think if they don't look ahead to what you talked about, Davy Crockett, after having this big win this past week we just talked about, they need to keep a level head this week. They need to understand what this game's about. Tennessee High is a great football team.
Yes, they are.
And for Cobb County and Tennessee High to be playing, I mean, that's going to be a challenging matchup for both teams. I think that Cobb County, if they are not off the high of the win, can beat Tennessee High. But I think Tennessee High has every bit of the chance to go into Cobb County and beat them because Cobb County doesn't have a lot of offensive threats. When I told you before, a total of 147 yards, that's not enough. It's going to take a lot more than that this coming week.
Yeah.
So over there in Cobb County, get your horses ready, get the running backs ready. Let's get out there and get outside. I'm going to take Cobb County because they're at home, but that's just because I'm a little bit back on the bandwagon after this week and then showing they can come out to the end and win a game. So.
Still on the bandwagon.
Cobb County, last year, you know what happened. I ran on that bandwagon the first 4 games, and then they just fell off, and I fell off with them. So they still got something to prove with me, Cobb County, because I'm not going to get fooled again this year. So you better do something. But what I'm going to have to do is, I know, like Roddy said, this game is a big game at stake because
Their conference.
This conference, yeah, it's heavy loaded, and
yes, it is.
This is where you start weeding out the weak here because this we're kind of battling for 2 here. The reason why I'm saying that, you know, we've got these other
Crockett
2.
up
These
there.
Crockett and Boom, that may come down to, but
Yeah.
we're not going to jump the gun. We're going to stick with Tennessee High and Cobb County. They both know what's at stake, and I believe Tennessee High, I'm going to give them the edge even though they have to come to Cobb County. And the reason why I'm giving them the edge, because there's a secret weapon. It's so secret, I'm not even going to mention if they utilize this, because I saw them play against Elizabeth, and there's a weapon, and my son pointed out, said, why didn't they do that more, use this person more? And I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to keep my mouth zipped, and you're just going to find out in Tennessee High, use them.
All right.
Hey, and it'll be fun if Cobb County does win against Tennessee High, then goes and beats Morristown East, then they'll be back on the game of the week when they play Davy Crockett.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure will.
yeah.
They sure will. All right, guys. You heard it right here on your high school sports, the Ball Corporation Game of the Week. The guys are picked. If you'd like to comment on what the guys have picked and give your opinion, go to yourhighschoolsports.com and click on and upload it. Just upload it. But before I close out, we have another Sevier County Game of the Week coming up this Friday night. Big game, Northview versus Pigeon Forge at Pigeon Forge.
Big rivalry.
Big rivalry. You guys want to talk a little bit about that right quick? Pigeon Forge, you
Well, Pigeon Forge has all the weapons from what I saw live in person this last week. They have all the weapons at every position. They need to utilize those positions. They have this guy named Prophet there that has it. They have a quarterback in, I think they, how do you say his name? Biamonte. He can run the ball if he can hold on to it, and he can also throw the ball. So Northview, I'm not sure has all the weapons that Pigeon Forge has. Now it's at Northview. Pigeon Forge coming off a big loss in a rivalry game. I think they'll be ready this week. I'm going to take Pigeon Forge with some of those weapons, and hopefully Northview don't have as many weapons as Pigeon Forge does.
It's going to be a key game for both teams. Northview and Pigeon Forge is about in a similar situation, even though Northview's been rising to the occasion the last few games. I believe they
didn't
had
rise
3.
last week.
Well, they didn't rise last week, but they have more wins than what Pigeon Forge has.
Yes,
So,
they
like
do.
Chris said, Pigeon Forge has more at stake. Pigeon Forge does have the weapons, but unfortunately, from this past game, they got a few people that are banged up from that game, and I believe that they're not. I know Biamonte was one of the key components, but I don't believe he's going to be able to play in that game. He got suspended in the previous game, so I'm not sure.
That's right.
He's going to be able to play in the next one, which, like Chris was bragging on, that's a key component that Pigeon Forge needs to get a victory. But forget about everything I just said.
Yes.
Guys, this is a county rival.
Yes, it is.
And coach at Pigeon Forge knows what's at stake, and he's got his guy.
Adrian knows.
Even though they had a tough game, but they kind of messed around there in the second half. So I think if they just correct a few things, stay positive, because I think this is going to be more of a mental challenge for Pigeon Forge. But one advantage they have, like Chris, they're playing at home. So come on, Pigeon Forge. But you pick Pigeon Forge, and I got to counter you just to make this show interesting. Northview.
All right. That's the Sevier County Game of the Week. You can go to the game and go home and see the playback on Wednesday night, October 10th at 9 o'clock on Spectrum Channel 180. All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to unveil the top 10 right here on Your High School Sports. So make sure you stay tuned. We're coming right back.
Get the right services you need from a name you can trust at Crescent Center Drugs. Whether it's hormone replacement therapy or if you need to update your immunizations for flu, pneumonia, or shingles, Crescent Center Drugs has a professional and friendly staff, always ready to take care of you. That's why for many years, Crescent Center Drugs has been your good neighbor pharmacy. Right now, getting your medicine is fast and easy when you sign up for the IVR system. It's simple. Once your prescription is filled, your box is scanned, and you instantly receive a phone call or text for pickup. Visit Crescent Center Drugs inside the Crescent Shopping Center.
Welcome back to Your High School Sports. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors. We are powered by Krispy Kreme Donuts on the Parkway and Highway 66 now, their new location. All right, Chris, go with it.
So this week's Your High School Sports Top 10. We'll start at the top this week. They got number 1, Alcoa, number 2, Greenville, number 3, Maryville, number 4, Knoxville-Fulton, number 5, Elizabethton Cyclones, number 6, Farragut, number 7, Anderson County, number 8, Davy Crockett, number 9, Oak Ridge, and rounding out our top 10 this week, jumping in there, Greenback.
Greenback.
They're good
Get
team.
off my back.
Greenback. They're a good team. Hey, I want to say something about something that happened. I don't know if you guys saw it last week. Well, Alcoa, what they wore out in the field. They paid tribute to a high school in Alcoa. It was called Hall. It was a Hall. It was an integrated school. When they integrated with Alcoa, they actually wore the Hall colors.
Okay.
It was called the Blue Devils.
Oh, so it was a segregated school before it was in
Right,
there. Okay.
and they came out, and they came out, and Alcoa 1 wore the blue.
So they paid
were
tribute
blue
to
and had Hall on the top of them. So great thing, Coach Rankin. I wanted to shout out to you because that was
great.
That was really good. You know, that was something. Most coaches wouldn't ever done.
No. I'm glad to see that they gave paid tribute to that.
Awesome.
Yes, that was good. All right, guys. Any comments before we close this thing out?
I think you got a good week of high school football coming up, just like this past weekend. So if you haven't been out to any games, go out there and look at the teams that you're interested in. Go to Your High School Sports or go to our Facebook page and like us. Send us some comments. We'd love to hear from you.
I love Buddy's barbecue tea and Krispy Kreme donuts.
There you go. There you
We
go.
get them every Friday.
Every Friday night, it's the Sevier County game of the week. For Chris Blevins and Chris Reddick, I'm Ronnie Woods, and we'll see you next week right here on Your High School.